Hello everybody, and very warm welcome to the first in this year's series of webinars with CDN and SQA. And we're delighted to have you all with us today. And I'm very pleased to have Fiona back working with us again this year. SQA's liaison team works alongside SQA's business development and customer support team, providing advice and support to centres about existing qualifications. Fiona Malone, who is our main presenter again today, has worked with SQA for many years and is currently one of SQA's customer liaison managers. A key part of Fiona's job involves working directly with colleges across Scotland, gathering feedback and helping to ensure that lecturers understand the changes to national qualifications, helping them to prepare their learners effectively. So we're really pleased that Fiona has taken time out of a very busy work schedule to come along and run today's webinar for us. So I'm now going to hand across to Fiona, who will begin today's webinar presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandra Jane. It's lovely to be back, everyone, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you this afternoon. I think it's important we just highlight what the aims of this webinar are about. I wanted to make sure that you were clear about the key changes in assessment of National Qualifications courses and units for this session. We'll highlight the timelines to make sure you're clear about what you need to be thinking about in terms of assessment planning. And we'll also highlight to you subject-specific support that's available for all college staff. I think that's really important that you're aware of what you can tap in to support you when you're delivering either the course this year or units at either SCQF level 5 or at higher level. So I think too it's worth just giving you a very gentle reminder of why we are at the stage we're at the moment and why these changes come in. Back in September 2016, the Curriculum for Excellence Management Board ratified the Assessment and National Qualifications National Group's decision to remove units under assessment and enhanced course assessment. Now you can see at the moment that we're about halfway through the timelines that were attached for that. National 5 changes were implemented last session, 17-18, and the higher changes will be run for the first time this session, 18-19. So that means for Diet 2019, candidates will experience the first of the new changes to course assessment. And advanced higher changes will come in session 19-20. In addition to the modifications to course assessment, there is going to be an impact this session on SQA's operational processes, in particular quality assurance, but don't worry about that. We'll update you on that in webinar 3 that's coming later this year. So in terms of the reasoning for this change, why? What was the thinking or the reasoning behind it? In the words of the Deputy First Minister for Scotland, the removal of mandatory unit assessments has the distinct purpose of reducing the amount of assessment experienced by young people taking national qualifications and the teacher-lecturer workload created as a result of administering the units. Now, the course aims, content and rationale are not changing, but as I'm sure you know, there's 2 exceptions to that, and those 2 subjects are biology, not human biology, biology and computing science. And the reason this decision was taken was it was based on feedback from both teacher and lecturer groups who felt that the cumulative impact of typically having to undertake 3 unit assessments, course assignments, prelims and a final exam for each course was too great. This was especially the case in the context of one-year courses, which we know is a common approach across schools and colleges, and was detracting from providing sufficient time for high-quality learning and teaching. I think, though, it's important to emphasise at this point that even though the units have been removed from the National 5 course and also the higher courses, the units are still available as freestanding summative assessments. So they're still available for all learners. They're under the Subject Specific tab on our open website. There is still unit specifications available and unit assessment support packs available, and they are still valid, and they're available on SQA's secure site. All assessment approaches still apply. And again, in March 2017, we announced the interim advice for RPA. As you know, recognising positive achievement applies between National 5 and National 4 only, and we're delighted to see that that is continuing to be available during session 18 and 19. And I'll show you where to get all of that information in terms of unit specs and unit assessment support packs when we do the demonstration later in the webinar. So what choice did SQA have after we removed the removal of unit assessments at National 5 and higher? We needed to make sure that the content that had been in the units could still be assessed. So we had to scope out our options available for each subject to ensure the same level of demand was remained within the qualifications, to ensure the qualification course retained the same number of SCQF points. So in a sense, folks, it's a technical adjustment to the assessment for qualifications. Content that was in the units will now appear elsewhere in the course. And that's why it's really important that you refer to the our open website and make sure you're referring to the latest course assessment specification. But again, we'll make sure you're clear about that and where to get that later on in the webinar. So what we did was, these were the 4 main options that were available to us. We had to undertake that action to ensure breadth of course coverage and to make sure, as I said, that the SCQF points remained the same for a course. So we could either extend an existing question paper at National 5 or higher, we could extend an existing item of coursework, or we could introduce something new. We could introduce a new question paper or a new item of coursework. And the decisions we made about these 4 options depended on the subject and the content of that subject and how assessment should naturally occur within that. Anything I'm about to share with you is available on this link here, and that link is on our open website. So again, anything I'm sharing with you, which is some examples, you can get the full detail of the changes to your subjects by clicking on that link there, or going to our open website and typing in NQ changes in the search function. The good news in terms of assessment planning and assessment delivery is that most of the changes at higher mirror the changes at National 5. So let's talk through what some of those example changes are. So what are the question paper changes at higher? Well, 5 subjects have a new question paper. Care, dance, fashion and textile, and photography. And we'll ask, if you want to type in anywhere at this point, if you're offering any of those subjects, please do let us know. We also have 12 subjects now that have 2 question papers. And that's broadly across the science and social subjects. So what do I mean by that? I mean biology, chemistry, human biology, physics, classical studies, geography, history, media, modern studies, and philosophy, politics, and RMPS. Some of those subjects already had 2 question papers, but please note that English for speakers of other languages now has 3 question papers. So if any of you are offering ESOL, there is now 3 question papers there that you'll need to prepare your candidates for. In terms of the changes I mentioned to the course content, aim and rationale, in biology, as highlighted in the October 17 update and as will be highlighted in the subject update for October 18, and also the course reports that are now available. We've removed some of the course content from the higher biology course, we've reordered some of the content, and we've provided clarity in respect of the required depth of knowledge that candidates need to be able to demonstrate. The course content will be organised now into 3 areas of study: DNA, metabolism, and survival, and sustainability and interdependence. In terms of computing science, in addition to changes in weighting of course components, and in line with National 5, they're also reviewed and clarified the course content for hire, including the following. So again, course content will be organised into 4 areas of study for computing science: software design and development, computer systems, database design and development, and web design and development. So again, if you are offering any of those subjects, please make sure you refer to the new course assessment spec and are clear about areas of study and skills and knowledge that's required there. Notably, English and music at both National 5 and higher have had no changes to the question paper. So in terms of course component changes, in other words, coursework that they have to undertake, what have we done there in terms of changes at higher level? Well, 4 subjects now have a new coursework component: English, Gaelic, modern languages and music. In English, we have the new course component is known as the spoken unit. So again, to get the detail around what the new coursework component is, please refer to your course assessment specification. Interestingly, there's 9 subjects that have had no change to coursework. And again, they're around the sciences and social subjects again, but I'll list them out to you so you know. Admin and IT. So these are the 9 subjects that have had no change to coursework requirements at higher level. Admin and IT, classical studies, drama, ESOL, geography, history, modern studies, politics, and RMPS. And as you know, folks, Latin and maths have never had coursework. They are continuing with question paper assessment only. And as I mentioned just there a minute or 2 ago, I shared with you what the biology content that's been changed and removed, and computing science has been updated. If you've got any questions around those changes, please just type them into the box, and if we don't get to them during the webinar, we'll pick them up during the question and answer session. Let's also have a quick reminder about the changes at National 5, because you may be offering both levels with your candidates at the same time, or you may be dealing with a National 5 group or a higher group only, but it's worth knowing about both, particularly if you find yourself with candidates who maybe start on National 5 but are doing very well and you maybe want to move them up to higher. So in terms of National 5, these subjects had an extension of an existing question paper. So we've got an example there where National 5 Business Management, it did have 3 units that assured breadth of content. With the units removed, we wanted to make sure we could sample that content elsewhere because it was still critical knowledge and understanding or skills. The best way that we could fit that in was to extend the question paper. And you can see there we've extended it from 70 marks to 90, from 90 minutes to 120 minutes, but it will still be worth 30 marks. And that detail, folks, that I'm sharing with you, you can get on the NQ assessment changes link that was in the slide earlier on the webinar. An example of change at National 5 in terms of an existing item of coursework was under physical education or PE. We know there was a range of performances that used to be covered in the units, and you can't really assess performance in a question paper. So it made sense, with the loss of units, it made sense logically to extend the number of performances from 1 to 2. And at the same time, we've extended the portfolio to cover planning and evaluation, which had also been in the units too. So that's why I'm saying to you at the beginning, the course content, aims and rationale has not changed. All we've really done is move things around, but it's important you know how we've moved that around and what that means for your teaching, learning and assessment planning. In terms of National 5 for new question papers, we've 9 subjects again at National 5, and we've got an example here which is practical cookery. It's 100% course assessment, but there was underpinning critical knowledge and understanding throughout the units, and therefore it made sense to add a small question paper, 1 hour, worth 30 marks, scaled to 25% of the final grade, with the coursework still worth the majority of the final grade that candidates will achieve. And finally, in National 5, in terms of a new item of coursework, again, there's 4 subjects in National 5 that have a new item of coursework, and we've put up the music example here for you. So again, composing was currently only assessed via a unit. Again, we couldn't incorporate that skill into a question paper. That just would not have made sense whatsoever. So again, this has become a new item in the course assessment and retain this skill. And for those of you that were listening attentively, as I'm sure you all are, you will have noticed we've made the same change at higher for that in terms of music too. Remember I mentioned to you at the beginning of the webinar that the unit assessments, although removed as mandatory content from courses, those unit assessments are still available. And again, all of the assessment approaches that apply to unit assessment still apply. So you can still use cut-off scores, you can still use thresholds to the number of assessment standards, and you can still use holistic or portfolio judgments. So again, when we do the demonstration of the website and we go to the subject-specific page, I'll show you where you can get that guidance on those assessment approaches for whatever units that you may be offering to your candidates, either at SCQF level 5 or higher. So again, it's very much business as usual there in terms of unit assessment. What about timeline then for higher qualifications? Well, back in April, we released the revised course assessment specification, and they are now available and have been on our open website. And we're also adding on 2 course support notes there as well. The high-level information in terms of changes to course assessment has also been released, and again, that's in that link that was given to you earlier in the webinar. And again, I'll make sure I show you that during the demo of the web pages. What we've been working hard on over the summer is giving you some exemplification. So we've put out revised specimen question papers for subjects that have a new question paper component. And we've put out revised coursework assessment tasks for subjects with changes to coursework. It's also worth highlighting at this point, if you haven't done so already, you may want to look at the verification messages that were put out from 2018. At the end of round 1, end of March 18, and at the end of round 2, end of June 18, we put on any subject verification messages, and that's looking at what's been going on with internal assessment, in other words, what was happening with units, both in terms of good practice and what was maybe causing challenges for candidates and centres. So it's worth a look as part of your preparation to make sure that you've read those verification messages, especially if you're going to be offering unit assessment throughout session 18-19. Also, in terms of course assessment, we have also in the process of publishing earlier than normal in the month of September this year all course reports for your subjects to help with teaching and learning of the course assessment. So again, these are being going up each day throughout September, and again I'll show you during the demo to make sure you know about your course report. What I'd like to do now is stop there and take us to our first poll of today.
everyone, if you just want to click which one you think is relevant, and then we can look at the results as they come through. So if you just click on which item in the poll you think is most relevant to the question, have a look at it.
Okay, folks, well done. Actually, the answer to that poll is all of the above. Obviously, the approach will depend on the subject and the type of evidence that is generated for the unit, but you are free to use any of those approaches as you wish. You may have a preference for one approach rather than the other, but again, have a look at the next steps guidance for unit assessment on our website. So moving on then, what we're going to have a chat about now. Okay, grade D, I think this is a really important piece of information and I want to make sure that you're aware of this. If you are teaching higher courses this year, the changes that we introduced to grade D last session for National 5 will now apply to higher 2. So what that means is if you are estimating a candidate at a grade D, which could be the case, because remember grade D is an achievement in its own right and it carries SCQF points and it can also be helpful for UCAS as well. So what that means now, a grade D notional grading is between 40 and 49%. It used to be between 45 and 49, but that has been extended to 40 to 49%. And that really is to help ensure that candidates achieve a qualification at the level they were entered for. So in other words, if they're entered at the right level, they have an opportunity now to achieve a grade D for that particular qualification level. And because it also applies at National 5, it means now too, if you're identifying any candidates for recognising positive achievement, it means you're estimating them at 39% and below. So please bear that in mind, folks. It's really important you understand the changes to the notional grade boundaries at grade D to make sure that you're making the right decision for your candidates in terms of the level of course and the grade that you think they can achieve. The changes to grade D for higher comes in this session, session 18-19. And the changes for advanced higher in terms of grade D, grade boundary, will not come in until 2020. And again, if you get any questions about that, happy to chat to you about that during the question and answer session. So we're now just going to move on to poll 2.
Hi everyone again, if you just want to put your answers into the poll, that would be great, and then we will move back to the presentation.
That's great, folks. Fabulous. Well done. Obviously, I did explain that clearly then. That's wonderful. You're absolutely right. The new notional grade boundary for grade D at National 5 and higher is now between 40 and 49%. Well done. And just to expand on that notion of recognising positive achievement for your candidates, let's just make sure we're clear about what that means. RPA only applies between National 5 and National 4. You do not get it between higher and National 5. And again, for candidates to be eligible for an RPA award at National 4, they need to have attempted all or part of the course assessment, either at National 5 or National 4. They need to have passed all of the required National 4 course units, or the freestanding SCQF Level 5 units, or a combination of the freestanding SCQF Level 5 units and units from the National 4 course. What is really important too, and this bit is absolutely critical, they need to have passed the National 4 added value unit. And again, there is a guidance note on RPA available on our Open SQA website. And again, if you're unsure about anything there, please don't hesitate to speak to your SQA college coordinator. And if they're not sure, ask them to get in touch with your college liaison manager and we can talk that through with you. Because RPA is a great way of making sure that candidates are not disadvantaged, that they come out with something at the end of their period of study. I included malpractice deliberately in webinar 1 this session because actually we're going to discuss it in far more detail during webinar 2 that's coming up on the 1st of October. But I think it's really worth mentioning this. Unfortunately, in session 18, we've seen an increase in the number of cases of malpractice across certain subjects, and I'll share more detail with you in webinar 2 about that. But again, to make sure that you are applying the assessment conditions appropriately, especially for coursework within national qualification courses, it's probably worth having a look, if you can, at our revised malpractice guide that was published in January 2017. It might be worth even doing that as part of your internal quality assurance internal verification process. In that guidance, it gives definition and examples of centre and candidate malpractice in both an internal and external assessment and how you might go about dealing with those. And that guidance is there to support and complement your centre's own internal policies and procedures. We really value the wider use of materials and assessment, and we want to keep confidence in the qualifications we're certificating. And malpractice in any form that we come across, we take it very seriously. So again, folks, I'm highlighting that to you because we'll share good practice with you about how to avoid malpractice in webinar 2, and we'll also share with you where that has been occurring. And again, we know that teachers and lecturers do not do that deliberately. Often it's just a misunderstanding about what the assessment conditions are. And that's why, again, it's important that you're aware of the changes to higher and National 5, and you're making sure you're reading your course assessment specification in as much detail as possible. And again, don't be shy if you have a subject question. Let me know at the end of the webinar during the question and A session. If I don't know, I'll get back to you, or contact your liaison manager, all right, for the college. Obviously, with the changes to higher and National 5, that has had an impact on the examination timetable, in particular for 2019. The other driving factor that influenced the extension of the 2019 diet was the way Easter falls next year. It's spread over almost a 4-week period, so that has influenced the start and end dates for the diet. But if you want to know when the external assessment is occurring for your subject, again, it's available. The timetable is on our open website. It commences the 25th of April next year and finishes on the 31st of May. So again, you're thinking about that time you've got with your candidates next session to get them prepared for their course assessment. You need to be working back from that date. Certification for all national qualifications, courses and units will be on Tuesday the 6th of August 2019. And again, because of the introduction of new question papers or extended question papers, you may have to think about your assessment arrangements. So can I please suggest, if you have a candidate who you think has an assessment arrangement, if you can get that into SQA, that request as quickly and as possible, so to make sure that we get everything that they need out to them. And again, in webinar 2, which is happening on the 1st of October, we'll look in more detail at the key dates for national qualifications. In other words, what are all the things that you need to get into us? What are all the things we need to get out to you in terms of operations to make sure that that candidate has accurate and timely certification on the 6th of August 2019. So again, another piece of useful information there, folks, for you to have a look at and make sure that you're working back from the final assessment date. I just wanted to highlight this to you. I don't know if you're offering any of these subjects within your college, but because of the changes made to them, we are asking you, if you've not delivered the course in the past 3 years, you would need to apply for approval. And approval applications must be with SQA by the 28th of September. So you've got an extra day there, folks. It's not the 27th, it's not the Thursday, it's Friday the 28th. There's a few other subjects that fall into that category as well, and they may be more prevalent or relevant in the college sector. That is care, childcare and development, psychology, philosophy and sociology. And let me know in the text box if any of you are offering those. Now, you only need to check if approval applies to you if you've not delivered the course in the past 3 years. And again, the approval requirements are on the subject-specific web page. But if you're in any doubt about that, speak to your SQA coordinator, and then you can get in touch with your liaison manager again, and we'll work with you to make sure that you've got everything in place. Okay, so again, if you're offering those subjects and also care, childcare and development, psychology, philosophy or sociology, please make sure you check that your approval is applicable. And again, most colleges have devolved authority that they can apply for approval, but please make sure you check the approval requirements on the subject-specific web page to keep yourselves right. The last thing we want to happen is you have to started your teaching and learning, go to enter the course or the unit, and suddenly we have a problem. Now, in terms of subject support that's available for you this session, session 18-19, there's a whole variety of support that's available. We are offering National 5 and higher presentations with audio. Again, that has been coming out all through the summer, and where we don't have an actual webinar for a subject, we've provided an audio with a presentation. We're also providing a series of National 5 and higher webinars. Again, they're available for booking, but don't panic if you can't get on. We're recording them just like we're doing here today at CDN, and you can access them. Our timelines aren't just as quick as CDN, it's within a maximum of 6 weeks. So again, if there's not an audio, there will be, if there's not a webinar, there will be an audio. And again, there should be a webinar available at the moment at National 5 and higher for all subjects, because we completed our webinar programme by the end of June this year. We're also starting this month to deliver the face-to-face understanding standards events, and they'll run between September and January of next year. And again, they're on a booking basis. But again, any materials from those events, face-to-face events, will be put on the Understanding Standards website, with anything that's secure being put on the secure SQA secure site. So again, on the Understanding Standards website, you will get candidate exemplification both for question paper and for coursework. So again, please take the time to have a look at that in conjunction with your new revised course assessment specification. As always, we put out regular updates via Centre News. Again, often Centre News goes to the SQA coordinator, but again, you can sign up for Centre News if you want it to get it direct into your inbox, your email box. And again, you can sign up for my alerts in terms of what's new in terms of your subject. And again, there's that web link again for the current list of all materials published for each subject in one document, and what the changes are to higher in National 5. What we want to do now, just to see if you've still been listening, because my voices can put people to sleep usually, we're going to move on to poll 3 and 4 and see what you answer to those ones. Thank you. Well done, folks. You've obviously understood that. Maybe you've already read that guide, for all I know. So well done. Yes, that's the type we will investigate, centre and candidate malpractice. So please, if you haven't had a read of that guide, it would be great if you could have a look at it in due course. Okay, folks, so before we move on to the demonstration of the website pages, just a gentle reminder of, again, that link where all the changes to assessments are highlighted for you and your subject. You can also get the guidance on RPA, and there also is the ministerial advice around entry requirements and presentation decisions, which again we'll pick up in more detail in webinar 2 when we're chatting about key dates, because obviously you will need to make a decision about what you are entering your candidates for. So we will pick that up in more detail in webinar 2. Again, I'm not sure if any of you undertake any appointee roles for SQA, whether you're markers, verifiers, principal assessors, etc. But again, it's a fabulous way of getting to know your subject in real depth. And again, we're always looking for markers across all MQ subjects. So if that's something you think you would like to become involved in, you can apply at that web address there, www.sqa.org.uk/EM. And again, there's another link there for the Recognising Positive Achievement in 2018 for any candidates who may fall into that category. Right, what I'd like to do now, just before question time, is move on to the SQA website, and we'll look at some of the key pages there that you should be referring to over the next few weeks. Here we go. Okay, folks, so obviously this is our home page. If you type in www.sqa.org.uk, this is where you should land. I don't know, maybe you don't, but this is where you should come to. And if you type up in the search function, just type in NQ subjects. And click on the search. And again, if you choose the first one there, National Qualifications subjects, it will take you to the home page for NQ. Now, there's a couple of things down the side here that is worth a check. This one in particular, assessment changes. Remember I said to you, if you wanted to know a summary of what the changes were at National 5 and higher, and what the specific changes to the question paper or the coursework, etc., you'll get it if you click on that link there. So I'm going to do that. It summarises what I shared with you about the Deputy First Minister's announcements, what the changes are. And again, this document, these two links here, these two PDFs are worth a look. So it tells you what the changes are in National 5 and what the changes are in Higher. And again, we've updated your questions answered for June 18. And again, you can get a list of published higher support material. So again, it's worth knowing and looking at that page, folks, because there's lots of useful information there, and it allows you to read in more detail what I've shared with you today. If we then go back to the subjects page, and I think what I'll choose is, well, is there any particular subject you would like me to look at? I don't know if you can tell me at the moment because I'm not in the webinar, but if I choose, let's choose chemistry. Now, the subject web pages look a little bit different to what they did look like last year. We used to have a tab that said 16, 17, a tab that said 17, 18. We don't have that anymore. So if you are looking for the units either at SCQF level 5 or higher, you're clicking on this option here, freestanding units. So if you're offering the units, that's what you're clicking on. I'll just do that right now. And there we are. You'll have National 5 and also verification messages coming up there too. If I go back a page, if you're looking for a particular level, say higher for the course or the National 5 course, you click on that tab and it takes you to everything that you need to know about for offering National 5 courses and also the SCQF Level 5 units. So remember I said to you before, and we had the poll on the assessment approaches, cut-off, thresholds, etc. You will get the guidance in here. So if you're using National 5 freestanding SCQF Level 5, you'll get information on the units in there, and if you're doing higher, you'll get information in there. Okay. Your subject updates, really important. There's your the chemistry subject update will be on very shortly, folks, for 2018. So that will tell you what's been going on at chemistry at National 5 during Diet 2018. If we scroll down a little bit further, your essential information, there's your new course assessment specification. If we go up and click on higher, you'll see a very similar layout to the page. So you'll see your subject update. You'll get your understanding the next steps. That's now for your freestanding higher units. And again, you'll get your course report. And there it's up for higher. Higher Chemistry Course Report, September 2018. So again, worth a read in conjunction with your course specification. Then in terms of exemplification, there is specimen question papers that have just been put up in September there for higher. And coursework. There's a coursework assessment task for higher chemistry, and very important guidance on the conditions of assessment to try and avoid any malpractice there. So really what I'm saying to you is anything you're looking for in terms of your teaching and assessment for either National 5 and higher, go to your NQ subject page and everything will be there for you. There's a note on the higher units and again the next steps, which explains the threshold approach that you can use. Is that okay? Again, let me just see if I can find that RPA link. Let's see if it comes up here in the search function for me. I'll just do NQ RPA. Yes. There we are. So again, if I take you to that page, there's the guidance from National 5 to National 4 and from National 4 to National 3.
Sorry
so,
to interrupt Fiona. Can I ask you just to explain to everybody what you put into the search box to find the link? Because as it's working, everybody is going to the website individually. They're not sharing your screen. So if you could maybe tell them what you put into the search function to be able to find the link for the recognising positive achievement, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that, Kat. But again, if you do the search function, you should be able to find it. So don't be shy about using the open website. And also, if you're looking for the quick link to the Understanding Standards website, where all the candidate exemplification material is for your subject, you can click on the link at the bottom of each subject page. And the link to the Understanding Standards website is also on the home page, the landing page, when you first go in to the SQA website.
Hi folks, can you hear me? Apologies, we seem to be having some difficulty with letting you actually share Fiona's screen there. The last thing that Fiona was trying to look at was the recognition of positive achievement. So what she typed into the search function box in the top right hand side of the screen was NQRPA, and that takes you directly to that particular part of the SQA website. The last thing she mentioned, you'll find the Understanding Standards link. There's a large dark greyed out banner at the bottom part of your website if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the subject pages, and that's where you'll find the white Understanding Standards link that you can then refer to at a later point. Hopefully you've managed to pick up everything else.
Okay, folks, that's all from me, I think, at the moment, and I think we're going to move on now to the question and answer session.
Hi everyone, thank you to Fiona for demonstration of the website there. As Fiona mentioned, we're about to start on our Q&A, and this is where I will stop recording. If anybody doesn't want to take part in the Q&A, you can feel free to leave the room, but it would be good to have as many questions as we can in the chat box. But yeah, I will stop the recording of the main presentation, which will then go onto the website within the next few weeks. So I'll do that now. Okay, thank you.